So I'm super excited because I'm going to talk a little bit today, but the less I talk, the better today. So I'm kind of excited about that. Chrixy has actually, for those that don't know Chrixy is the one who runs our team and bosses me around. My wife's favorite part is if Dina is walking around the house and I'm on a call with Chrixy, I'll end the call and I'm always going to hear the same thing from Dina. Is somewhere in the call, Chrissy's going to put me in check or boss me around or something. And that's always Dina. It's like, gosh, I just love that she does that to you. I just love it. So I love her for that. She has built some confidence, but she's also been empowered just to be a leader. She's been empowered to be the real version of herself that she is. She's an amazing freaking talent and she's an amazing leader. And I am honored that she's on our team and for some reason continues to work with me. So I'm really excited about that. Those that don't know her background, I'm going to give some so that she doesn't have to brag on herself, is she certainly has a little bit of background in this whole marketing thing. And most of us, like myself, I've got a lot of background in the marketing side and the real estate side and all this other kind of stuff. But here's the thing is, I just do that in real time. Ain't no college asked me to teach it in their facility here. So Chrixy actually not only does this in real time, does this as her career, but she also teaches marketing courses in college. And so I'm kind of honored to say, but she's on my team. So I'm kind of excited about that. So she is the real deal. She definitely educates outside of our industry and inside of our industry. And if you're a member of the practical side of real estate, go inside. There's a marketing course. I had pretty much, I think the percentage would be really close to 0 to do with that course. So that's pretty much all Chrixy. And there are going to be some things in there that, number one, the course is free, but number two, I think some of us, we take a very light approach and a light touch and a light thought process on marketing and go, I don't know, what's going to be a cool post today? Chrissy's a geek. She goes way deeper than that. She's going to talk about, putting together a vision board, all this, I don't even know the terms, all these boards and everything else like that. And I'm going to tell you, when she joined our organization, the first thing that she did is she put everything that she's telling you on these things. She put this together like week 1 when she was with me. And there are things I hadn't even thought about doing in the past. So that's kind of my introduction of Chrixy. Kind of a rock star. And you've got a couple things throughout this outline that you're going to pull me back in on a few just different perspectives. But what do you want to share with us today?
Well, thank you, David, and hello, everyone. We did have a talk, David and I, that will be bantering in this kind of in this webinar, because the conversation that we're going to be going through is more in his arena in terms of the transaction coordinator side. Like all of his experiences and his past few years is going to be very, very important as an insight. But I will be talking on the marketing perspective, on the marketing side of it. So let me share my screen so that we can walk you through a little bit of what the agenda would be for today. So this is something that David and I will be sharing with you together with the notes and the graphics that we will be using. So we didn't actually have an idea on who will be the majority of our participants. So we wanted to have the flexibility. Technically, when we were talking, in my mind, I was thinking about transaction coordinators that were just starting up. But while David was talking to you, I already felt that you already have a bearing on what you need to do, on what you're already working on. So we're just gonna breeze through the first question. The basic questions, like who are you talking to, or who are the audience, and then the value proposition and stuff like that, and a little bit about the different when we splice up, if you're an independent construction coordinator or an in-house TC, what are the specific needs and what are the specific topics or highlights that we want to share with you. And I think this is where we'll be spending most of our time. The principles or the bite-sized recommendations that we have here in Cultivate Wins about content creation. I think that's something that you'll be more excited about. So let me back up a little bit and just add on the introduction that David gave. So just a few more things, because David basically did my introduction for me. I've been working with David for more than a year now, and that's one of the tasks that I held on to and cherished and owned, being the marketing director and creative director of Cultivate Wins. So um, I'm more of a general marketing strategist, and what I needed David to contribute in this conversation would be to drag me or um, anchor me into the transaction side of things. So in the marketing, these are questions that we usually do. And I've handled or helped independent transaction coordinators. So on the side, I've been talking to people who also need marketing help, and some of them just happen to be TCs. So I've talked to independent transaction coordinators and in-house TC. So even before my experience with David, I also handled real estate agents and stuff. So I've been in this industry for more than 6, 7 years already in real estate. And before that, I've already been working on marketing. So one thing that got my interest peaked is that whenever I talk to TCs, whether they're in-house or independent, I ask them that's the first thing I always ask them. So what do you want me to help you with? So what do you really want to do? Um, that's one question that makes them pause, and they don't. I have no one. There's nobody who talked to me that had the question right there and then. It usually takes them into a process. So I think that's one thing that we can like have in a checklist. So one of the first questions to help out with the marketing would be if you know who you're talking to. So who are your audience? Because David helped me understand that there are two very different things in terms of the role. When you're an independent transaction coordinator, you have to have that mindset of a business owner. And when you're a business owner, you're looking for clients, you're looking to grow your business, you're looking to network your business. So what should be your messaging? Your messaging, or what the context you're offering, is what really matters, because as we all know, it's a very competitive industry, correct? And one of the things, or one of the risks, is to become white noise. Like there's so many transaction coordinators out there. So what are you offering that will make you stand out in a sense? And one thing that in Cultivate Wins, one thing I love about Cultivate Wins is we're not just talking about promoting yourself. We're talking about promoting your value. So that's why we have this question here. What problems are you actually solving? What's the value proposition that you're presenting to them? And that's going to be the content. So as an independent transaction coordinator, that's very important.
Can I ask you to pause right there? Let's put that in context. So I love what you said earlier. You said that you will ask people, and I'll just use it in my own terminology, is, okay, so you want to know more about marketing, you think you got to run ads. Seems like a simple question. It almost seems like a ridiculous question. Why do you want to do marketing? Why would you want to do marketing? Do you even know why you want to do marketing? So when I talk to a number of people, here's the answer: is it's either silence, or it's, if I translate it loosely, okay, it's going to be this: aren't I supposed to be marketing? I mean, it's like they're marketing because they think they're supposed to market. Okay, let's get specific. Why are you marketing? Are you marketing? Now, if you're David Breckheimer, Chrixy, I am a horrible, horrible person for Chrixy to work for, because Chrixy is into marketing and she's supposed to be, promoting things and marketing things and stuff. And then she works for this guy named David Breckheimer that's mad every time she puts me in any ad or anything, because I don't like to promote me and I don't want to talk about me and all this other kind of stuff. And she's like, you're kind of Cultivate Wins. And I'm like, how do we get around this? Okay, that type of thing. So it's frustrating probably working for me. So the question is, are you trying to do self-promotion? Why are you marketing? Are you trying to do self-promotion? Are you trying to just get your name out there? Are you actually, now if you're me, this is what Chrixy has learned after working with me. Okay, if I want to put an ad together that David might approve, it's going to be, all I care about is adding real value out there. That's what I care about. I'm not out about self-promotion. What can I do to bring real value to my audience? That is my marketing. So that's the only thing I'm looking at. So when Chrixy would ask, so why do you want to be marketing? I want to be marketing because I want to bring real value. That real value has gotten me more calls and more everything. And so I don't have to worry about being slick Willy and promoting myself. I'm just like, what do they need right now that I could actually provide out there? So understand when she asks, why do you want to market? Why do you want to advertise? There isn't one simple answer. A lot of us take different approaches. The last thing I'm going to mention, and then I want to throw it back to you, Chrixy, the value proposition. Come on, guys. The value proposition informs everything. Okay. So if I tell someone is what that value proposition is, does my ad support that? Does my system support that? Does my language support that? Does everything I do, if I say that this is my value proposition, really is your value proposition nothing more than just your slick Willy speech of what you say you are and who you are and what you'll do or anything? Or does everything that you do, every action you take, every word that you say, every ad that you post, every single thing that you do, are those representing what you are telling people your value proposition is? So here's the major problem with that. Talk to a lot of people, and I'll say, let's just start with your value proposition. What is your actual, what do you want to do? Why do you want to market? Okay, great. That needs to be based off of your value proposition. What is your value proposition? They've never really written or know what their value proposition is. What they do is they give me some nice lines. We want to say the age and time. We want to, you're just coming up with common lines that we all can come up with. What's your actual written value proposition? And by the way,
Can we
someone
show the
asked me,
graphic so
yeah,
that
please,
before you throw it out to me, we can already
there, right
check
there.
this out. Yeah.
Okay.
This is an
So
example of a value proposition for
there is a
the
value
attendant.
proposition that we make available for free to everybody. And anybody who wants to know where this originally came from is, I kept getting asked, well, what does a value proposition even look like? And I don't even know if Chrixy knows that where this graphic actually came from. She made it look prettier. The way I had written it up, it was pretty ugly, but she made it look, yeah, it was pretty bad. But all the words were identical. Is someone asked me, well, what does a value proposition even look like? I said, you should know your value proposition as well as you know your own kid's name. If someone woke you up in the middle of the night, you should be able to tell them what your value proposition is. And she goes, well, give me an example of what that would look like as a TC, as an independent TC. I wrote this in less than 2 minutes without any thought whatsoever. Why? Because I've been doing this a while and I know what the value proposition is, or in my opinion, what my value proposition as a TC would be. That's how well I know it. This wasn't something I sat down and worked on 6 months to try to come up with a value proposition. That's how well I just knew it. So I wrote it up that way, and then I posted it in some group, and then everybody started copying and pasting it, and it ended up everywhere. And then, Chrixy, I love you, but you're the one who goes, I can't stand when you post this stuff. You make me ugly cry. She actually used the phrase ugly cry because the stuff that I do, I just throw it up there because I know it. You can wake me up in the middle of my sleep and I can throw it out there. She makes it look pretty. Okay.
And I
But
do have a reason for that, which we will talk about later on.
You got to have your content and know your value proposition. So I hope that helps, Chrixy, put in context of what you said. Why do you want to market? My reason's a little bit different. I want to add real value. And then other people, they want to self-promote. We'll talk about later. Sometimes you want to advertise because you're not trying to promote you. You're doing marketing, not just for your company. It's a service you provide to your agents. So now, why do you want to market? That might look different for one agent that you're serving versus another one if you're going to do their marketing. Okay. So I hope that helps a little bit. And it puts that third one you've got on their value proposition in context. If you don't already have that, make that a priority.
Agreed. And whatever you propose, whatever value you propose as an independent transaction coordinator, it has a little bit of difference when you're an in-house TC. I do love the conversation you had a little while ago. It's as simple as I want to make Jen's life better or easier. Yes. That's a very important factor. That's where I came from when I said that you already have your bearing, because having that in the back of your mind, like your training so that you can set up systems for better processes in your team, that's already one of the factors. And one of the things that you had to set up would be marketing. And when you say that as a why or as a one of the reasons, then you already have one of the things checked in your list. So, for one of the other factors that might differentiate when you're an in-house TC, because is when you're an independent transaction coordinator, you're basically looking for agents and clientele and expanding your network. But when you're an in-house TC, you might wear other hats than TC. We know this, especially in small groups and small organizations. You can be a TC as a title. I know some people smiling. You can be a quote unquote TC, but you're also handling the hat of an admin or the hat of a marketing person and then the hat of a TC. You have to understand that that's very important to segregate in a sense, because when you know that these are the roles that you're handling, then you can properly calendar and time block all of those. Because
Yes.
hats are the things that David uses. So if you want him to explain why it's hats, then you can ask him. But basically, it's the simple tasks, the simple responsibilities in one role. And having a time block for that is important. For example, as a marketing, there's also many hats in there. You can market to find clients for your agents, like buyers and sellers, or what we call lead generation. But in some teams, not everyone, but in some teams, you can also be a marketing that recruits agents when your
Mm.
team is growing. So having that mindset helps you with what type of content you need to produce. And all of those always goes back to the value proposition. Like when you're asking for agents to join your team, what's the value that your team is offering? That's important. That's the message that matters that we're talking about. It's basically saying the value proposition informs everything. And when you're finding clients, why should they work for you? What's the value that you provide? Are you providing do you provide them with not just the experience or I know some of the agents that I love. For example, there's this agent that offers relationship, like positive relationships. They say that even after you finish a transaction, the friendship continues and you can always call them back. That's a value proposition you're offering. Offering genuine relationships with your clients, not just the transaction itself. So I hope it's helping you get a little bit more information or idea on what the value proposition you can offer. Go ahead,
Can I
David.
can I put that in context for with a real
Yes,
team that I
please.
used to be on? Is Barb is an amazing agent. Okay, she's a freak of nature. She's usually in the top five every year in our 5-state area for Minnesota, and she's been doing this now over 40 years. So she is one of those people that has done homes for a family, and then done it for their children, then done it for their grandchildren. She's now doing homes for people's great grandchildren. That is just ridiculous. Okay. She's 4 generations deep, and you know what, nobody leaves her. Okay, because what she has done, she does do the advertising as far as promoting the homes. She does do the advertising promoting the team and recruiting people, but she also creates a community for her base, for her customer base, kind of like what you were just talking about. This isn't like it's just a nice slick willy thing is, hey, we're going to be your friend and follow up with you forever. She has events all the time and all of her customers come to it. And then what she does, what's the advertising? What she just does is she just posts all these pictures
Photos.
of just joy and happiness and all the people hanging out together. It's like they're their own cult. I mean, it's amazing. Okay. So again, is that technically marketing? Okay.
Definitely.
Now, I'm going to just use Chrissy's terminology that I've heard her use in her courses and I've heard her use with me, is that community and that love and that joy, that's their brand.
Mm.
That's their brand. So when Chrissy, you started just by saying, when I meet with someone, I just ask them kind of, why do you want to market? Okay, there's what's your value proposition, but also why you want to market. At this point, Barb isn't just marketing because she's lead genning.
Mm.
She is sharing her brand. And let me tell you, that brand's pretty attractive at this point. Pretty amazing. So I really applaud you, Chrissy, because that's not the way I'd kind of thought about some of my marketing that I'd done before. She kept saying, this is your brand. This is your brand. My brand is I kind of want to give everything away for free and just help people. And I want to, I mean, that's kind of my brand, but it's Chrissy calling. But Chrixy calling me out and saying, hey, maybe we should do some more stuff here too. So anyways, Chrixy, I love that you pointed those things out, but I want to put it in real context of
And
real team.
I love that you have exact examples that most likely they will also know.
Yeah.
So I just so you know, I'm from the Philippines, and
Sorry.
go ahead.
Hang on, Elizabeth.
So I just had one little side note too. So this is totally random, but I think it relates. I know I'm watching the clock, so I know I'll be conscious
Go
of
ahead.
time.
Go ahead.
But random example. So my husband and I are planning we're not coming up north, David. My husband and I are planning some trips to Florida and Georgia for the summer. And I had to call today to 2 different agents to ask about our travel arrangements. I booked them in July. I haven't gotten any invoices. What do I owe? Blah, blah, blah. I had 2 different phone calls today that maybe lasted about 5 minutes each. And they were both terrible conversations.
Yes.
Terrible customer service. And I hung up the phone and I thought to myself, this is why Jen's goal for our company, our mission statement for our company is for us to be professional. That's her word, professional, because both of these companies were not professional and it left a horrible taste in my mouth to the point where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to call you back again when I go next trip, blah, blah, blah. So that just really appreciate you, Chrixy, about being like, what is your message that to bring across? The message that Jen has been pushing is professional. And I will be honest, when I started, I've worked in corporate for a long time. I can be very professional. I can talk well, but it is a different ballgame when you really are trying to be professional in the TC world. And so I need to call Jen after this call and thank, because it just dawned on me listening to you. So thank you for that reminder. But I think that's another example of taking what it is that's part of your core values, David, like what you said, and saying, okay, how is this really work? Something as simple as the word professional. It's a simple word.
How does it string through everything? How does it,
does.
the 2 phrases that I say, how does it either filter through that principle, or how is what we are doing fully informed by? So if what she's looking for is a professionalism, how does that show up in your marketing? How does that show up when someone picks up the phone? How does that show up in their interaction of the actual, if you were able to earn their business? Do they actually feel, does everything flow through every aspect in a consistency? And that's what I love that Chrixy brings to our team is, I'm just ready to go out there and do everything for free and have fun and everything else like that. And she's like, okay, so what you have, that is your brand. We need to make sure that that brand is everywhere, because you're all about your core concepts and core principles, and that's in your marriage, that's in your family. And she makes sure as she produces everything, David, everything that we do, it's the same message all the way through everything and your actions. It fully informs everything. And Chrissy's beautiful at that. Which means a lot to me. As a business owner, it means a lot to me that she cares about my core concepts and principles, and she makes sure, I don't care if it's marketing, a Facebook group, or anything, she makes sure that that is strewn through everything with a level of consistency that, I'm going to be honest, if it was left up to me, probably wouldn't be that consistent. I don't really care about the marketing. I'm out doing stuff. But
no, I thought that was great. So thank you for that note. I thought that was really beneficial. So thank you.
I love that sharing as well, the bit that you shared. We really love hearing how it translates to people. So we totally love that. And we actually already talked about the brand, so we're just gonna go through the one of the bite-sized recommendations. I love that the transition was very smooth. It's because marketing is a holistic. It should be approached in a holistic manner, and the way that you mentioned it, Elizabeth, even the customer service, it can also be a part of your marketing. It's why it's important that you have to everybody in the team understands the brand, because when everybody in the team understands the brand, it's going to be easier to market them, because marketing is not just about posting in social media, posting in your email. It's about the conversations that you have. You basically look at David and you know the 5x5. It's impossible to talk to David and not hear about the 5x5. So that's actually the core or the brand of Cultivate Wins. Everything is filtered through and informed by the 5x5. And I know that I've already told David this, so I know I have the permission to say, but he was a total pain to work with when I started, because I asked him why did he hire me, and then of course he said marketing, and we had to promote things and stuff like that. And he was like, whenever I proposed okay, these are the things and strategies that we can do. He's like, no, I want to give them for free. And I'm like, so why did you hire me if you want to give everything for free and give the content for free? And that was the time that we were just getting to know each other. And having the 5x5, the one that you see on the screen, was very important for both of us because that became the core and the center of everything that we do. I helped David find, not necessarily find, because he already had the brand. Cultivate Wins already had 5x5. I just needed everything to be anchored to that. Like the videos that we create, if you see, even the messaging was already there, the language was already there, but having it look the same, having that kind of consistency, it's actually helped a lot. And in all of the content that we provided, we had this look that when you see this colors, when you hear the 5x5, it's Cultivate Wins. And I love telling the story about, if you know, if you watched some of our videos, we always have that jingle in the front and in the back. And some of the client that David has, she sent a photo of her son that was dancing whenever he heard the jingle. And that's what brand is about. In the simplest things and the littlest things, it's important to know or to share that brand. And of course, we'll go back to the brand is also informed by the value proposition that you have. Brand is a little bit more complex. As you can see in the note, it's really hurting me to just talk about it in a very small, short amount of time, because I teach that as a whole course in the college here in the Philippines. And I've the course that we have, the marketing course that we had, it has four modules about brand, just about brand. And having to talk about that in a short manner is super a teeny
Painful.
thing. So it's just a side part of it, something like that. So if you have more questions about how to establish the brand, you can reach out to me. Some of our members, it's for free. They just do a consultation, and we talk about how you can set up your brand or how you can audit your brand, because some of the companies already have a wonderful brand. They just need me to anchor them and then just organize it and make sure
Yep.
that it's in holistic manner when using the when creating content. So
So Joe,
go ahead.
Joe, just to use you as an example, is if if you and I were going to talk about marketing right now, and I don't know much about your business, I would be curious what you think your brand is, because sometimes it takes an outside force to kind of look at how you do business, the way you talk, what's your language, everything that you're doing, and they may be able to see what your real brand is versus what you think your brand is. That's another thing that an outside perspective can do. And so you can tell me what your brand is, and then based on what I see, do I agree with that? Does that align with what I see in reality, from what I see from you, from the way that I see you showing up online, the way I see you showing up in your transactions, everything else? The other thing is, you may have a certain brand that's kind of become you. It's okay to say, you know what? I want to be better. I want to be better and do better. I would like my brand to be this. Okay, well, we can create someone could create a marketing around that. But if you can't live up to that, and that marketing a new brand that you want it to be doesn't literally show up in every aspect of your tone of your voice, to your language, to how you show up online. So sometimes that's a hurdle for someone who is just kind of making random posts right now and they don't know what their brand is. I would personally, if you're not going to get coaching on it, I would literally ask someone that you trust, and I would challenge you to ask 3 people that you trust. Here's what I see as my brand. Don't be nice to me. Don't be polite to me. Okay. Is that what you see in my business? If not, I really want to know what people see as my brand. What here do you see I'm following through here? What here do you think I could use some work on? And what do you see that I don't have listed here? I would say get some coaching, or you come up with what you think your brand is and find 3 people that can be brutally honest with you. Okay. Not as much hugging and everything, because we're still in COVID, but wear a mask, 6 feet apart, but let them yell at you, and let them tell you what they honestly see in your business. It might line up exactly what you think. It might not be exactly what you think, and you may want to work on that. So just another thought and perspective on that.
I just had an aha moment when you shared about that. The brand.
Yep.
I always say, and it's been I've been like a broken record saying that your brand is not just about the colors or the logo or whatever you're using as a photo or as a background or whatever.
Mhm.
It's who you are as a business. It
Hardcore.
brands tell your story. And I love the conversation you had with Joe, because you have to audit your brand in a way that check it if you're actually honoring your brand, because some people set up their brand too high and they're not ready to honor it yet. So I think it's, if that's the case, I love the assignment that you gave. Ask people to audit your brand
Yeah.
for you, like three people you trust, and it's gonna help you because you might find strengths that you don't know exist.
Yeah.
Your brands also should consider the strength you have as a team or as an independent transaction coordinator. So that's why I'm saying it's a much more complex thing. But having that in the conversation was really vital. Anyway, go ahead, David.
One formula, if anybody wants to write down a little timeline or a formula, think about it from this point of view. Okay, this is the way I think about it. Consider thinking about this as one point of view. You set what your core concepts and principles are. Okay, what are my core concepts and principles? Next part of the roadmap. You're either applying those or you want to apply those. So it's about knowing what your core concepts and principles are. Then it's about application. Now, a lot of people, that's as far as we're going to go. Now, none of this is about patting myself on the back or anything like that. I'm going to give you my 60-second or 30-second story. Is that was me years ago. I wanted peace. I wanted contentment. I wanted to understand joy. I wanted to understand compassion. I wanted to understand these things. I wanted to be scalable, duplicatable, frequently predictable, effective, and efficient. Those are the things that meant something to me. And I worked hard to study, understand, and apply those. There's another phase though. Set it, know it, understand it, apply it. You apply it for long enough and it goes through everything that you do. You and your organization now become the embodiment. That's where you want to be. Okay. Anybody who knows me knows the 5x5. Come on, that ain't a marketing ploy. Give me a freaking break. Okay. I'm going to bring up my wife one last time, hopefully on this call, because I bring her up on every call, but she's someone that says every time you talk about the 5x5, I could literally kick you off of the Zoom call and I could finish everything you're going to say, because I'm 51 now and we've been together since I was 15. And when I was about 19 years old is kind of when I came up with that 5x5. And that has been a staple in who I am as a human being since then. But at 19, you don't think I was the embodiment of it. That was who I wanted to become. So I had to study it and I had to apply it. If you apply something long enough, you become the embodiment of it.
Yep.
It's not just a fun marketing ploy and it's not just a logo and a slogan. So think about right now, it's okay to think about what is it as an organization? What is it as a small business? Do you actually embody? What would you like to embody? And be okay that that might be a journey to get to that point that you embody what you actually want to. At this point, it's hard for me to even do anything, think about anything, talk about anything without literally filtering it through peace, contentment, joy, gratitude, and compassion. I'm pretty much incapable at this point. And nobody will tell you that more than my wife. She knows that that's our family everything. So I hope that helps you, that just that thought process is that it can be a journey. The end goal is you, individual or your organization, whatever you say those core concepts and principles are, they do inform everything that you're doing in your marketing and everything. But to truly be the embodiment of that, that's where the journey gets fun. Okay, from my perspective, that's where the journey gets fun. Okay, so I hope that helps someone. It's just one perspective. It's just one
And to
perspective.
give context to that as well, here in Cultivate Wins, when I met David, I wasn't aware of the 5x5. But now, even my husband knows the 5x5 because when we talk and we have like meetings about our family and our marriage, the 5x5 comes up as well. That's how I'm trying on my part to embody it, not just in the professional, but also in the personal life. And I hope one day I can tell that as well. Like you can let me Pao is the name of my husband, and we were recently married, but we've been together for years already. So when I started working with David, he already has been hearing the 5x5, and he can tell you to it as soon as I ask him. So it's that kind of brand. It's a very holistic manner, and having that set up and being the anchor of your marketing is already a very big step. Now
Yep.
we can talk about the active and the passive marketing. And we know that everything, when you've already set it up and you're trying to apply it and you're trying to embody it, you can, of course, move on to the other strategy. So this is the more technical side of things. When you're marketing, you're not just posting passively, because everything in the passive should support the active part of it. And David can contextualize it in the sense that what are some of examples of the active and passive marketing and DCs. Go ahead.
Wow, you're quick to throw me right back in here. I thought I was going to take a break.
Well, that was the next part of the
so-
conversation.
Okay, so real quick is active versus passive. Think of it this way: is I think the average person who tells me that they want to do marketing. Okay, I don't mean to rip on independent transaction coordinators, but if I'm being hardcore, loving, and honest as much as I possibly can, ugh. Okay, the reason why I say ugh is I think that the default is that they love passive marketing. They want to make a pretty post. They want to do stuff like that. It is easier. It's less confrontational. I don't know, whatever. It's rather than picking up the phone and actually being active and talking to people. Okay, I get it. Okay, but and then agents would also like to just make a post and get tons of buyers and sellers, but they at least live in a world and an environment that they have it beat through their heads like independent transaction coordinators don't. The agents are, you got to call your expireds, you got to do your script training and all that kind of stuff. So they're already kind of taught that they have to be successful, have to do active marketing. And it's interesting because independent transaction coordinators, they might not be taught anything, but they lean towards not what they're taught, what they would like to do. They'd like to do more passive. Now, for me, in my ideal world, it's both. And they support each other. Okay. So what active versus passive is, think about it from this point of view. And I'm going to use Alex. Love Alex. She owns she'll probably kill me right now because I'm still going to go with her old company name, which was Minnesota Transaction Coordinators. I know she's changed her company name. I just don't have it off the top of my head. But the fact is what I love about Alex, from time to time, you're going to see her in the independent transaction coordinator, different groups or the admin groups. She's going to, and it's a stretch for her. Anybody who thinks that this is a piece of cake for her to just pick up the phone and call 30 agents in a day is just completely misunderstanding what she's doing there. She's stepping out of her comfort zone like nobody's business. When she picks up the phone and she tries to call 30 agents, she is, number one, stepping out of her comfort zone. Number two, that's active marketing. That's active. Okay. Now, we all know this. If she actually gets a hold of someone and someone's even this much interested, it's too easy these days not to. They're going to check Instagram, they're going to check Facebook, they're going to check all these things, and they're just going to say, I don't know, what is this organization about? What's this group about? And everything else like that. So here's the thing is, does what she does on her passive marketing, her posts and everything, fully support, and take what she did on the active to the next level that it needs to be taken? So does your passive support your active? Second thing is, it might be reversed. You might do something passive that gets someone to actually interact with you. And then you're like, oh, great, I got all these comments and I got all these likes and stuff like that. But then you do nothing active. You just did something passive that created some active and you did nothing with it. there is active marketing and there is passive marketing, and they need to fully support each other, and don't try to live in just one versus the other realm. And if you do active marketing and you actually gain that client, and that client thinks you're the best thing since sliced bread and talks about you all over his brokerage and market center, do you really think everybody in the brokerage and market center is going to pick up their phone and go, Alex, I can't wait to work with you? No, they're probably going to go check out everything she's doing passive, everything that's on her Facebook, everything that's on her Instagram, everything. That's her passive. Her passive now is supporting what worked for her actively. So I hope that helps kind of, that's a very, very small example of active versus passive. You don't do one or the other. And they're meant to support each other.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Definitely. The passive in a very short description also establishes your credibility. Having that much content shows that you're active and shows the relationship that you build with your network. And for one more example, in social media, it's actually really easy to have that active and passive balance. When people reach out to you, you can easily message them, like chat them if you see them like or comment in one of your posts. And one of the best things right now is we have Facebook groups. David was totally against establishing that Facebook group. If you're not part of the Facebook group yet, you have to definitely join there, and you'll see David is nonstop providing content there. But that's where we do some passive and some mostly active. And what that's one of the beauties of social media. You can easily balance, like post content and reach out to the people. When we're talking about newsletters, if your team sends out newsletter, it's definitely a must do to check the open rates and click rates. The click rates, when you see people clicking in your content, you have to reach out to those people because they're already showing interest. That's how you balance the passive and the active. And if you want it in the context of Cultivate Wins, this is actually a sample of the active marketing, because I do posts in Cultivate Wins, and David has been pushing me to the spotlight to do some active marketing and talk to people. So we're we're two sides of the coin, and we're making sure that each of us go outside of our comfort zone. So I hope that helps. And then the social media as a service to the customers is actually something that David wanted to be part of the conversation. So what did you mean about making it the service to the customers?
Okay, so we talked about, let's take what you started the conversation with and bring it to this part, which is asking, why do you want to market, and what type of marketing do you want to do, in those types of things. Okay, so my style of, I don't even call it marketing, because I wouldn't call it marketing unless I hired you and you called it marketing. For me, I'm just trying to put content out there that actually I'm hoping will bring real value to real people. Now, someone is going to say, see, and that's the way to, and that's great marketing and stuff like that. I just don't think that way. That's just what I do. Now, technically, if you convert it over to numbers and stuff like that, I guess you could call it marketing, because people reach out to me nonstop based on the content that I put out there. Okay. So when you're doing content for yourself, and I said your active needs to support your passive. Okay. Now think of what that passive is. What variety? And just ask yourself that. What variety do I want in my passive? The reason why I say that is because if you're talking to me, I want a bunch of that variety for that passive to be actual, not posts that are like, hey, we have another new listing. Hey, we have another new closing. Hey, I'm not kidding. I can go on to Instagram, and I don't want to call anybody out. I can literally go to Instagram posts where they may have 2,000 posts and they look identical, because it's either just listed or sold. That's it. I mean, it's house after house after house. I mean, it's white noise. I can't even stay following that, because it just it just fills up my whole feed, and it's the same thing every single day. So what mix do you want to have in there? So do you want to have a little where you actually think of what would bring this community value? So you think of 2 or 3 value posts per week or per month, whatever your volume is. Okay. Then from there it might be encouragement, where you're celebrating someone. Another one might be a personal share of the team. Another one, so think of the different categories that you can go ahead Do you want them to get to know the team a little better? Some people do a little bio on each person in there. Some people do birthdays, all that kind of stuff. But make sure that there's enough in there that you're not becoming white noise, because you will become white noise. And yes, if someone checks you out, because you did active and now they went to your passive, it might still help. But if you're just doing just that passive, and they look at it and you're becoming white noise because everything you're posting, it looks like the same thing every day or every 3 days, give me a break. I mean, they can't follow that for very long, because now it just seems like the same thing all the time. Okay. So what I would recommend is, and I didn't mean to do this, but I'm going to give her credit, is Alex right now. Alex is doing a great job with whatever the name of her company is, Minnesota Transaction Coordinator. Minnesota Transaction Coordinators, what she does is, her marketing team and everything, they've got all their passive stuff. And what she does is she also does a once a week video of market updates and stats and everything else like that. So she's got a little variety there. She's got a video that's very personal. You can see when she flubs up, she doesn't correct everything. It's fun. And she actually gives the stats of what is the closing rates, what is, whatever, waiving of inspections and all those types of what's happening in our market. So that's a value add type of post so that people know the stats. That's not the only kind of post that she does. But if she did any one of the different types of posts that she did, and that's what she did over and over again, I wouldn't still be following her. It's old. Okay. So I hope that helps a little bit. Your variety matters, but be purposeful on it. Think about what your core concepts and principles are and what means something to you. I want Chrixy more out front with Cultivate Wins. We've got 3 new coaches that are joining us and everything. I'm all about, I want all of their faces. Now, what's my core concept and principle? I love these people. Okay. That's one of my core concepts and principles. And I want everyone else to love them. So I want to pull them forward because I know that they're bringing people real value, and nobody wants to see my ugly mug on every single thing. Okay. So, my core concept and principles is that I care about these people and I want to bring real value to people. And I wouldn't have them as part of the team if I didn't think that they could bring freakish levels of value to people. Now, to have people on your team that bring freakish levels of value and then not put them out front so they can share that with people, that's why did you even have them? So now you're seeing some of my why. You'll see some of my posts and why you'll see me pushing, thank you, Chrixy, for telling all of them that I'm pushing you out front. I am, absolutely I am. Okay. It doesn't need to be a ball brickhammer all the time. I'm sick of me. Okay. So I hope some of that helps a little bit. Just puts things in perspective. Think of who you want to be, what you want your organization to be, and what would you have to do to now implement that and eventually embody that. Every aspect of it. How do you embody that? Those core principles. So I hope that helps.
I think that can be to sum it up as a conclusion, having working towards embodying your core principles and your core concepts will actually provide value to other people. And when you provide that kind of value, it's going to speak for itself. And that's the best kind of marketing. And this is just more on the technical side. Setting up standard system processes and tools are going to help your team make it more efficient. And it's really good in the sense that you can double check if it's you can audit it, like, is it according to the brand, is it fully informed by the core principles we have, is it still threaded in that brand that we talked about. So some of the things that we have, and if you check out the marketing course, actually we have ready-made Excel sheets for that. Like for social media posting, we have calendar setups. We give it as a free template to that. And the branding checklist, we also have that in here. This is the sample of the brand guide we have in Cultivate Wins. We focus on the core principles and then the brand colors. That's the technical side of it, but we also talk about the visions and the goals. And this might be one of the ways to do it. Like when you want to check out or audit your brand, you can start creating a brand guide. And that's very, very important when you're growing your team, because if we add in new coaches, as David has mentioned, we just show them the brand guide. And that can be a tool for them to check out every now and then until they fully embody the core principles of Cultivate Wins. So having those kinds of systems, processes, and tools are going to help everyone embody the brand that you have, and then it's going to be easier for marketing. So anything you want to add before we take in questions if anybody has a question, David.
No, I really don't. The only thing I would say is there's a couple things that you mentioned right at the end there that I think get hit on in other webinars. So I think one webinar that I would encourage people to go back to, the one from last week, you were just talking about standard systems, processes, and tools. In last week's webinar, you'll find it in, go to your Cultivate Wins membership, go down to the webinar replays, and there'll be one that I think it says 3 easy steps for auditing your systems.
Yep.
Yeah, auditing systems. I would say that that one hits on that last point much better than what we're going to do in 2 minutes. I think that that's a good one for people to go back to. But other than that, I want to honor and respect everybody's time.
Thank you so much.
Is there anybody who wanted to ask anything or had any comment on the way out? Elizabeth?
I had one quick question. I know I'll be good on time. So you brought up the audit conversation, and either one of your perspectives, is that something that you see happening multiple times in a 25-year span of a company, or is that something that you see happening? Wait, say that again?
Quarterly. 4 times a year.
Evaluating your brand.
Yeah, here's the thing is I would say that what you want to do is you're looking at putting together, I don't do annual planning. Okay. I'm very much a quarterly guy. And so everything is based on, I don't base it on like the 12-week year book, but gosh darn it, I love that book. And it works with my time frame. It's fantastic. I would say this is what I do is I look at everything on a quarterly basis and I see where we have concerns and where we may need to take a look at things and audit. So as far as I'm concerned, auditing our systems, how we're doing our branding, what our core principles are and everything, it's all up for discussion every single quarter.
Wow.
Every quarter.
That's good.
Yeah, and I'm real hardcore about that. If you want one simple exercise, it's what I give in the auditing webinar from last week, and I'll just say it here because it's a real quick one. I have one homework for people if they're not used to thinking that way. That's kind of a natural thought for me. Every quarter, everything's within question. So I'm fine with that. Okay. If that's not normal for people, I would say this is think of your team and have a quarterly meeting. At the quarterly meeting, everybody has to bring the following. Now I'm using the 5x5, whatever your core concepts and principles are. So I'm using 5x5 as mine. Okay. Every quarter, tell me, what are 2 things that you are freakishly proud of that we do at a high level when it's measured against and filtered through the 5x5? What are you proud of? I mean, we crush it. We absolutely crush it. Then what are 2 things that you think if we looked at it, I don't care how major or minor, you think that if we measured it against or filtered it through the 5x5, we could actually do a little better. And now when we say systems, I don't like the word systems because the average person uses that for everything. I want to break out systems and I want people to understand that standards aren't systems. Systems aren't standards. Processes aren't systems. Systems aren't, there's standards, there's processes, there's systems, there's multiple things here that you're auditing. We don't just audit systems, but this industry seems just bent on using the word systems for everything. Are we auditing our principles? Are we auditing our standards? Are we auditing our system? If we have a system, okay, then from there, what is our process? What is the tool? What are we actually auditing? So what we do is, I think if someone doesn't already have kind of the mindset where it's just natural every quarter, you kind of do that and nothing is sacred. The only thing that's sacred is core concept and principles. That's sacred.
Right.
Everything else is measured against that, which makes nothing else sacred. Okay. So if you don't already kind of have that whatever thought process, principle, whatever it is, then I would say an easy exercise, have everybody on the team come with what are 2 things that you are freakishly proud of when measured against our core concepts and principles, and what are 2 things that you think, doesn't matter if it's a big deal or a little deal, what do you think we could actually just take to another level when measured against that? To me, that would be an easy way to start that audit process every quarter. Does that help a little?
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
And it actually happens in real life. Like David and I has a quarterly meeting, and that's always part of the conversation. He asks me what are the things that I'm proud of, and then what are the things that I want to work on and improve
Right.
on. And
That's
it's just an actual conversation. You don't
Sure.
really have to emphasize that this is an audit, this is an audit. It can be a normal conversation you have with the team,
Yep.
and it's
Right.
actually already auditing the systems and the
Right.
processes and the tools
That's
and
And
the
great.
we
standards.
started doing that in real time because that's the culture I've created. I didn't even have to like teach that to her. It wasn't until she knew that that's what I was doing after she started editing some of my videos and going, oh, that's what we do. Well, yeah. I didn't have to teach it to her. She saw it in real time.
Sure. Sure.
So that's
perfect.
kind of where we're at this point. Nothing that we teach at Cultivate Wins. I don't like theories. It's like this is just
What
our
we do.
reality.
Sure.
That's what we do. Well, good. I will end it there. Thank you, everybody. Anybody looking for those notes, Chrixy
Yes,
will
that
be
was my question.
editing. Chrixy's going to edit this video, and it will be put into that membership. And then in the membership, it says download. I think some people think that means download the video. It means download the attachment,
Yeah.
which is those notes. Okay. So the notes will be totally available. All the graphics that you used are available.
Yes.
Thanks, Paige. I appreciate you. But other
Elizabeth
than,
had a question about consistency. Maybe you have
Oh.
2 minutes to answer.
no, I
How
do.
important is consistency?
Yep, go for it.
Well, for me, consistency really helps in terms of building out the marketing. And it's not just about consistency of the content, it's consistency inside. Because it's better, like for me, the more consistent David is about the principles and the processes and the teachings that he shares with me, the more it's integrated, not just in my professional, but also in my personal life. And I think consistency also has to be led by example, not just by sharing it. It's gonna be more effective if you're a leader and people actually see that you're doing it, and it's like you you empower them to also be more consistent about the core principles. I hope that helps. Unless David has anything to add about that.
I'm just going to give one real life example so you can see what it looks like in real life in our organization. Am I fairly consistent and predictable and a ridiculous broken record about peace, contentment, and everything else? Like hardcore, yeah, absolutely I am, and I'm all good with that. And if I'm a broken record and that annoys someone, that's fine. These things mean the world to me in every aspect. So do I expect that someone comes into the organization? That's a natural transition for them. Of course not. Okay. This is something that has been important to me for a long, long time. Okay. So if you take a look, just even look at my calendar. I'll go real simple. Okay. Notice that every Tuesday and every Thursday, there's something that says CW Foundation. If you look at that, what I do is I write out the actual core concepts and core principles, and they actually have written out, like people hear me talk about the 10 scrolls and the 4 agreements and stuff. Okay. It's on my calendar every Tuesday and Thursday. And what's our why, what, and how, and golden circle, and what are the scripture verses that mean the most to me, and everything else like that. And here's the thing is Chrixy has access to that because I know those things inside and out, and they mean a lot to me. But I give her 2 opportunities every single week. I'll just throw it on your calendar. Here's the way we think. Here's the way that we talk. And if you want to hold me accountable and say, dude, you said that this was important to us. Now, she just happens to work with someone that, you kind of almost can't get me off a track of those things, because at this point, it's just kind of who I am as a human. But the fact is, as an organization, we talked about, you may not be where you want to be with an organization. You may have a vision to say, have this different level of professionalism. So it's going to take some accountability and some work before it becomes the embodiment of the organization. That takes time and repetition. And even when the organization becomes that full embodiment, what happens? You still bring new people in. It's not the embodiment of them. They got in here 30 days ago. Okay. So when we talk about the 5x5, one of them is compassion. Give a little grace. Okay. Now, when I go to organizations, and I'm not kidding, if you think I'm over exaggerating on this next statement, it just hurts my soul how consistent this is. I get brought into an organization and we talk about things, and they want to talk about their mission, vision, value, and all this other kind of stuff. And I ask, So what are your core principles? What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your values? What's your value proposition? Whichever one means the most to you, what are those? Share them with me. And this is what I see. And I mean this literally. And what it is people are looking around going, do you know where we keep those?
It's in the website. That's another.
I think
That's
it's
another.
on the web. Yeah, I think it's on the website. No, I think it's actually in the Google Drive. I think it's in our ops manual. I think. I mean, it's the most embarrassing conversation. And here's the thing is, even if they could find it in 30 seconds or less, here's the question. Is it practical? It's not something that they access every day and that it's part of what they do every single day. I throw it on the calendar. I throw it around like confetti nonstop. And everything that we do, it's actually okay. It's not about who's the leader in the organization. Anybody in the organization could ask anybody and challenge anybody else. If I said, hey, Chrixy, let's do this. And you're like, is there a way that maybe we could do that more efficiently? Or is it, I'm missing how that provides compassion to our people. And sometimes I just need to slow down and she can question me on that. It's not like I'm her leader, so she can't question me. She filters everything through that. Okay. Now, if she says that she wants to do something, or can we do this? Can we do that? Or whatever. First thing I'm going to do is go, I don't like that my face is on that ad, but other than that is I'm probably going to say, you know what? Is there any way that we could word that a little bit different? Because that would help us change the joy factor. It wouldn't necessarily bring them more joy, but it would remove the tension that is stealing their joy. And we filter everything through that. And we actually put it literally right on the calendar so that everybody has access to it all the time.
And
not
one
like,
more
where is
thing
it?
about consistency, Elizabeth, if you check out like most of the webinars that we do, it's impossible to not catch the 5x5 in the conversation. That's how consistency works. And that's actually funny because even if you're not part of Cultivate Wins, as long as you know David Brackheimer, and hopefully as long as you know me, you'll hear about the 5x5. So and as we've
And we won't
mentioned,
tell you guys to use the 5x5. It's okay if you don't agree with the 5x5, you don't want the 5x5, but remember this one thing is you better have a replacement for it. What are your core concepts and principles? So I think everybody, it's time to go. Tons of love to you guys. You guys have an awesome day. I hope this was helpful to somebody. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.